Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event.
Oh, yeah!
Are you ready?
And now, coming live from Wrestling-News.net and presented by Spreaker, it's Main Event Madness. Madness Unleashed. You can also chat with us during the show, either by using the hashtag MEMLive or by calling 305-600-4708. And now, here are the hosts of tonight's show, John Curry, Marc Madison, and Eron Ramadanov. What is going on, everybody? Main Event Madness Radio. We are back. It is 2016, a brand new year, fresh start for everybody. Hope you guys had a great couple weeks there, great holidays. Hope you guys are having a awesome start to 2016. We are excited to be back, and what a week. What a week we could come back to after 2 weeks off. I mean, even just the last 3 days alone would be able to suffice for a 2-hour podcast. But we have a jam-packed show tonight, and I am beyond excited to get back into this. And with me, as always, each and every week, I have with me my two co-pilots, one of the columnists for, or I believe one of the columnists for TheRichest.com and TJRWrestling.net, Mr. Marc Madison, and the editor, or co-editor, is it, I believe, of PWPNation.com. Chief editor. I'll get these down eventually. Right. But Marc Madison, Eron Ramadanov, gentlemen, first off, happy belated New Year's to you guys. Hope you guys had a tremendous holidays, I guess, end of the holiday season.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I did. I had a pretty low-key New Year's Eve. Kind of just hung out, and pretty good Christmas Eve, and then New Year's Day and Christmas Day.
Did you ever end up
here?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you guys weren't you guys getting hungry over sushi the last time we were on?
Yeah, we were. I'll blame Eron for that. He was talking about something that he was having, and then it kind of led me to want to have it. I've had my fill, but it's probably not the same.
Yeah, if every Christmas Eve my family goes to hibachi, and we do the whole Chinese or Japanese dinner thing, and I had a little bit too much to drink. I had one scorpion bowl, and then I was like, you know what? Let me go for number 2, and number 2 was probably a bad idea. So,
but you had a good time, and that's all that matters.
Good time, yeah.
But guys, what better of a week could we have picked to come back? I mean, we have, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, we have a jam-packed show. WWE struck gold. They struck a gold mine and sapped it dry. Grabbed a bunch of talents from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Roman Reigns in the Royal Rumble. WWE making history, doing something they've only done once in the last 30 years. Chris Jericho returned on Raw. Brock Lesnar returning next week. TNA, from what I've seen people talking about, may actually be starting to get back on the right track. Which is funny because we spent half of last year basically trying to stir up the doomsday clock. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Raw is starting to go back on the up and up a little bit here. So, got a few Rawsome moments to go through later on this hour. But a jam-packed show nonetheless, guys. And, it's kind of funny considering WWE, at least this news came out with WWE striking gold, as I mentioned, with a talent pool. And it's kind of funny because it came out more so during Raw. But how excited, just right off the bat, and Marc, I'll go to you first. How excited are you guys for the names that WWE could be bringing in?
It's incredible, really, to understand that the guys that were rumored, and you hear rumors floating, but then the fact that they actually come about and the chances for them to be there, it is, staggering, mind-blowing to understand that, honestly, two of If you were to say anyone, I'm sure there's a handful of guys that you could say that are in any promotion. Wow, he's the best wrestler not in the WWE. He's the best wrestler not in the WWE. You'd be really hard-pressed not to say that Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles aren't going to be on somebody's list of those not in the WWE that now are. It is huge. I mean, when Kenta had signed on and joined last year, it was considered, or not last year, the year prior, it was considered a big thing. And then the same would have applied to Fergal Devitt or Prince Devitt, who's now Finn Balor. This kind of takes that to a whole different level. Huge news.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I'm a huge New Japan Pro Wrestling fan, so when I heard the news, I was shocked. I've been waiting to kind of, vent about this whole situation for a little while, and I saved it for this show, of course. I think, am I optimistic that these guys are going to come into WWE and do great things and be the same Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles that we've seen on the independent scene in New Japan Pro Wrestling? Sure, I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen, but I am still very skeptical, especially with Shinsuke Nakamura, who I am a huge fan for. He's probably my favorite active wrestler today. Along with Evan Ginsberg, me and him share that commonality there. We're both huge fans of that guy, and I think I am worried about how WWE is going to handle these guys. I think, the one plus side thing that I could possibly think of here is that they're going to be paying these guys supposedly so much money to come in that they would have to use these guys in a primary role on the main roster. A lot of people think they're going to go to NXT. I'm not so sure about that. I think, considering they're paying these guys so much money to leave big deals in New Japan, I would think that they're going to be paying these guys a considerable amount of money to come onto the main roster and be impactful primetime players, not the primetime players, of course, but primetime players on the main roster. I'm just skeptical. I think WWE, we've seen so many times bringing in new talent that they don't really treat them well, and that if it's not Vince McMahon's creation, that they usually don't get treated very well. So I'm skeptical, but I am happy at the same time. I like that, AJ and Nakamura are finally going to get this chance to be in North America and on probably the biggest stage you could possibly be on, which is WWE. So I'm hopeful and optimistic that they'll handle these guys in the right way.
Now, and before we keep going into this further, guys, if you guys want to call in and chat with us or give us your opinion on this, call 305-600-4708 or tweet us obviously on Twitter, using hashtag MEM Live. So, a couple ways you guys can chat with us. But let me just ask you guys straight up, point blank. Do we get the Bullet Club in WWE?
I think we get a version of the Bullet Club in WWE. I don't know if we're going to get because I think New Japan still technically has the rights to the Bullet Club name. I know they have the rights to the Bullet Club merchandise. I'm assuming they have the rights to the Bullet Club name. So I think we'll see something similar. I think we'll see maybe the Balor Club that we've seen Finn Balor come out to with all the time now with his new Titantron and new kind of look. He hasn't really abandoned the demon thing. He kind of pulls it out for special events, but we've seen him on NXT on a week-to-week basis in the Balor Club uniform. And I think there's so much potential. I think they have so much potential for such great storylines that they can do with this Balor Club. If they do decide to bring him up to the main roster, they can do a Nexus 2.0 kind of thing where they just kind of come onto Raw on a random week and just take out a bunch of top guys and explain to them that the Balor Club is here to take over or whatever. There's so many great things they can do. But I do think we see a stable. I think that's why Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson are being brought in. I think they're going to be put with Finn Balor as kind of his stable mates, and those three will go on and be the Balor Club. As far as AJ Styles is concerned, I think they're going to want to keep him on his own, and the same thing with Shinsuke Nakamura.
One of the things you had mentioned earlier when you talked about being skeptical when it comes to them, you almost have to look at their age, especially AJ being 39. If he isn't called to the main roster, I can't really see the sense in him toiling in NXT for too long because he's talked about having aspirations and wanting to do more and be more. And that idea of him being elevated, I'm sure the idea of him being a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble is probably being tossed around. That would be quite the coup, and having him appear there too. But I like the idea that you had mentioned with Anderson and Gallows. I think it is kind of funny when you had mentioned though too that if it isn't a Vince McMahon creation, he's not one to give it its full attention, right? But then it's funny in that Gallows comes back after leaving, and they really didn't utilize him to his best. And he was part of arguably the biggest faction not in the company, and was really successful that they call him back. Whoa, wait a minute. You know what? Maybe we underestimated you. I think you kind of underestimated him when he was there, but hey, he's getting that opportunity now. So, but that idea of the Balor Club definitely works. They could actually probably mix and match guys that are associated and some way to tie it in. They still do the Too Sweet, and there's still a D-Generation X kind of crossover. I'm wondering if there's some way they try to hybrid or bridge the two in some way, but it still looks like the Bullet Club is going to be just as successful with Kenny Omega taking on more of a leadership role for anybody that watched the New Year's Dash. Mm-hmm. And the roles of Cody Hall, I'm sure, are going to improve and change too. But then there's also talk of Tama Tonga, and that was kind of circulating. That wasn't really officially official, but there's speculation that Tama Tonga, who's also Haku's son, formerly King Haku or Ming in WCW, and the Rock's uncle, Tama Tonga wouldn't be the Rock's uncle, being brought in as well. So there's always that idea of maybe he joins the Balor Club. Maybe this is kept on the down low, and it's just kind of utilizing the talents and trying to capitalize on the hot burner that was the Bullet Club. Now, is logo and fonting of Bullet Club trademarked as well? Because it seems really similar. It doesn't really look like that's something that... It's almost like having a knockoff, like Gucci or like a brand name item, but really kind of just do a little tweak on it, and it's not exactly the same thing. It's kind of not genuine. Yeah. Do you guys know if any of that would be taking place when it comes to Bullet Club, Balor Club merchandise? Nobody's tried to sue anybody for control, or...
I know that... I remember I think when Balor's new merchandise came out with the Balor Club thing, I'm pretty sure I did hear something about New Japan kind of taking a little bit of an issue with it, but I think they backed off on the basis that, you know, taking WWE to court is no cheap task, and I think they just realized, you know what, I think if we try to pursue this, we might lose, and in the process we might lose tons of money doing it. So I think they probably just let it be, because I don't think it really hurts their merchandise in any way either. You know, I think people buy the Bullet Club shirts for the Bullet Club. I don't think they buy them for Finn Balor, or vice versa. I don't think people buy Balor Club shirts for the Bullet Club. So I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to see if they do decide to go ahead with this stable with you know, if let's say Doc Gallows and Anderson join Balor and they do this Balor Club stable. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to brand it as the Balor Club, and if New Japan will take issue with it. Hopefully not. I mean, I think they're pretty two separate, you know, identities, and even though they have similar fonts and logos, I'm hoping that New Japan just kind of lets WWE have this one, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just excited to see everything unfold. I mean, what better of a way to kick off 2016 than four of the top names in the independent scene all coming to WWE? And this, I mean, who knows who else could be coming in? I mean, maybe, you know, MVP has gone from TNA, and he's long since been a rumored name, a favorite of rumors for the Royal Rumble over the last number of years. You know, could this be the year he comes back? I mean,
Jay Lethal they've talked about as well.
Jay Lethal, yeah.
The
Hardys, that's another. I mean, especially now because Matt Hardy lost the finals of the World Title Tournament last night.
Yep.
And we'll get into that a little bit later on. But, and I know we've touched on a little bit. Does AJ bypass NXT?
I think it's going to be really interesting to see who they decide to go. To say, all right, this guy's got to go through NXT, but this guy doesn't. And I think it's going to be something where WWE is going to sit down and go, you know, like Mark said, all these guys are in their upper 30s, so they don't really have time to waste. And especially if they're paying these guys a lot of money, I'm assuming they're going to want to bring them up right away and have them be prime players inside WWE's main roster. So I'm thinking AJ. I mean, AJ would make sense for NXT. A lot of people have been talking about him to take over Finn Balor's spot in NXT as the champion and being kind of the top guy for them to go on tour with. I think Shinsuke Nakamura. I think it'd be. I don't want to say disrespectful, but I think he deserves a main roster spot instantly. The guy is probably a top 3 wrestler in the world, WWE or non-WWE, and I think he needs to be given that luxury of coming up to the main roster. But WWE has this new mindset now of everyone has to kind of go through NXT. That's our learning process. They're going to want to break all these guys down and say, you know what, all the stuff you've learned in Japan, all the stuff you've been known to do, you can still do that stuff, but you've got to learn our playbook. If you listen to Triple H talk and during conference calls and interviews, he uses the analogy all the time of, in football, when you're playing for one team, you learn their playbook, but when you come to play for the other team, you have to learn our playbook now. And I think that's something that they've had a philosophy of, Triple H, Vince, that when you come to WWE, you've got to go through NXT, the Performance Center, and you've got to learn how we do things, and then we can assess where you need to be. And I'm hoping these guys will be treated with respect. And if they go to NXT, I'm hoping that they're not there for too long, because I think the main roster needs help. I think a lot of people are on that same wavelength, and they don't really have that many top established stars. And I think Nakamura is somebody, if you've ever watched him, can definitely be there on the main roster and be an instant star if they treat him like that. If they treat him like someone who deserves to be on the main roster, he can instantly come in and be a top guy and help the main roster a lot. And the same goes for AJ Styles and even Carl Anderson, who a lot of people have been sleeping on as far as these 4 people being signed. A lot of people don't know Carl Anderson, when he was asked to do singles matches in New Japan, he shined. I mean, he had some great matches with Shinsuke Nakamura, with Okada, with AJ, well, not AJ Styles, but so many other guys. So I think Carl Anderson's kind of being bypassed a little bit, and that guy has actually cut a bunch of weight recently, which he looks great now. If you watch Wrestle Kingdom 10, he's cut so much weight from last year at Wrestle Kingdom 9, so he's in the best shape he's ever been in. So I think all these guys, even Doc Gallows, could be used on the main roster right away.
Personality alone, Shinsuke. I think it was on probably your Facebook page. I saw that image of AJ firing a gun and Shinsuke catching the phantom bullet and eating it. I mean, funny, whimsical stuff like that can easily get overlooked, but it's that. Now, the match they had at Wrestle Kingdom, we would never, ever see because of the stiffness and the manner in which, the ferocious nature in which these guys went at each other. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense why they would have to go through, hold on a second, there's a certain protocol that we need to go through, that they're not going to be lent those, the freedoms that they would have, say, in the New Japan, whereas in the WWE, things are a little more focused on, okay, so now you play to the camera, and now you focus on, having the light shine on you in a certain way. I know it almost seems cliche when we talk about the stuff in Breaking Ground, but I think when it came to Finn Balor, he was learning a whole different style. It was never something he necessarily had to work on, but it's something that maybe Shinsuke might have to be aware of, whereas AJ has had opportunities on American television to do that. I wouldn't say either one of them won over the other, but maybe both collectively move up and are considered that threat. That it's just I'm weary about guys that are in their late 30s needing the time to develop and spend in NXT, because the clock is ticking for them to come in, elevate, achieve, and maybe then it is the end of their career. So I'm weary of that. That's all.
I will also say real quick that I think it's really, really good for all 4 of these guys who especially AJ Nakamura and Carl Anderson, who have been working that strong style in New Japan for so long. Their bodies are taking such a beating. Even AJ, who's had problems with his back recently with a herniated disc, and a lot of people have been talking about him taking some time off. And I think it's all four of these guys can really benefit from WWE's not toned down style, but the New Japan style is so physical, and you have to be so strong, and the hits are so hard. I mean, if you go back and watch Wrestle Kingdom 10, you watch AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, and then how they wrestled each other. I mean, they were hitting each other so hard. Let alone the Ishii and Shibata match from the match previous. I mean, that match was probably the most hard hitting match I've ever seen. So I think the strong style of New Japan it'll really help Nakamura, especially, who's been there almost his entire career, his entire career, and I think he'll be able to come over now, and it'll be less wear and tear on his body. He'll be able to kind of maybe stay healthy for a longer period of time. He's I think he's turning 36 next month, so it's going to be really helpful for him. And same goes for AJ Styles, who's been battling back issues for the last year or so.
And I got one question and a comment to get to before we hit our first commercial break of the show. Does WWE do the unthinkable in today's day and age of them? Do all four of them bypass NXT, come up to the main roster with Finn Balor?
I mean, it's possible. I won't say it's not possible. I mean, it's possible all four of them can bypass NXT, but I think it all depends on where they see Finn Balor. I think if they want to bring him up during the Royal Rumble, which we'll talk about later on with the WWE Championship being part of the Royal Rumble now. Mm-hmm. I think I'm almost feel like you can't really debut anybody in the Royal Rumble this year because of I think they might get overshadowed by all the guys that are going to be in the Rumble now. You got Jericho going in. You probably have Brock going in. They might add Taker to it. Triple H, exactly. I mean, there's so many different elements to the Royal Rumble this year because of the WWE Championship being involved that I don't know if they want to debut anybody or a new group in the Royal Rumble match. I mean, they could easily debut this entire group. They could have Balor come out, and then Anderson, and then Doc, and then all of them kind of join together in the ring one after another or something like that. I don't know. But it's possible. I mean, it's possible all four of these guys can just bypass NXT and be on the main roster.
If you had to pick one match for AJ Styles for WrestleMania, what do you want to see? If I'm giving an opinion, AJ and Cena.
Oh, that's a good one.
If you're booking WrestleMania 32 and you want to put AJ in a match, who do you book him with? Because all signs right now, especially with the Rumble, that we weren't, no one was sure if we were going to get Triple H and Reigns at the Rumble or WrestleMania. Now it's kind of looking like it's going to be WrestleMania, so that kind of frees up Cena now.
I mean, I think, when I look at the roster that we have now, and this may sound really bad, and I don't mean it to, but I don't know who could match up with AJ in the ring and put together a good match that's healthy right now. I mean, I'd love to see Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins and AJ, I think, would put together an incredible match. I think Hunter and AJ could put together a solid match if they
promos of that one.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of great things you could do. I mean, even Brock, if they want to go that route. I don't know. There's so many. That's the cool thing about this entire signing is that now there are so many possibilities, so many dream matches. I mean, for example, you had today, I think, Shinsuke Nakamura reacted to a fan tweeting him about Daniel Bryan and a possible match that's been talked about for a really long time too. Bryan in a bunch of different interviews has talked about wanting to face Shinsuke Nakamura because Nakamura is his favorite wrestler that he's never been able to work with. So I think that's a match that's a dream match of mine. I'd love to see Daniel Bryan and Shinsuke Nakamura wrestle each other. Just the kicks and the interaction they would have together. Would be great, but of course, Bryan being injured, that's obviously up in the air.
Mark, what do you think?
I'd like to see what Dean Ambrose could do. I mean, against any one of these guys, you want somebody that's going to be versatile and move around, and that's, I think, part of what's made AJ so effective is he can work with the big man. He could work with somebody smaller. I mean, wonder what would a Bray Wyatt interaction be with the Shinsuke, or what would that look like with any one of them? So, the opportunities are there. It's who would be the best fit coming in that would work the best program. So I'm sure these guys have connected enough times through the independents and communicating one way or another where they trust each other regardless of as to who's in there with them. If it was somebody a little more green, they wouldn't want to probably put them in there, but they're so seasoned, the guys that are coming in, that I think any match would be effective because those involved are just as committed to make it work. So.
Mm-hmm.
And how stupid do you feel right now? And you're laughing, so you may know where I'm going with this. If you're CM Punk. For all the bitching and all the moaning and all the whining and all the complaining he did, and to look at the whole WWE roster, NXT and the main roster combined, you've got Virgil DeVitt, Daniel Bryan, El Generico, Kevin Steen, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows. I mean, and I know I'm missing more of these. Samurai Del Sol. I mean,
Neville.
Mm-hmm. Hideo Itami.
I don't know if he feels stupid, but I think
it's like all the guys that were on the indies with him, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Aaron. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
All the guys that were on the indies with him are there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if I would laugh hysterically, honestly, if WWE goes out and signs Cliff Compton.
Colt Cabana.
Colt Cabana. I don't know about that one with the lawsuit.
I don't think the Colt Cabana thing might happen, especially with the legal issues that went on with Dr. Aman. So that one maybe not as likely, but I think with Punk himself, he might be so far removed from it that to get him to admit that he's wrong might not necessarily be something you would get from him, right? So I think he's moved on. He may not even think about it. It may not cross his mind. Although you see comical tweets of where he's retweeting something or quoting Samoa Joe saying, "Yeah, oh, by the way, don't forget to point to the WrestleMania sign. They like it when you do that." Mm-hmm. So it's funny.
I think he still has an itch for it. I think he definitely still has his finger on the pulse of what's going on. I mean, he had that little, I forget when it was, but he was having an interview with somebody or some kind of live forum or something where he was talking about the New Day and how they've become kind of the most entertaining thing about the show, and he said that like in plain sight. So I think he still remotely watches here and there. I think
he probably watches for his friends. I mean, I remember seeing a bunch of interviews that he called Kofi his road wife.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So I think he still has a finger on the pulse. I think he still knows what's going on. And I think he might be kicking himself. I think he might be saying, you know what, maybe I should have, given them more time. But I think he was done. I think he was just kind of sick of how the company was treating him in his eyes. I mean, I don't want to. I think John might remember how I feel about CM Punk, and me and Joel had a rule on our old show where when he signed with UFC, we said there's a no talking about Punk rule, because I remember when he signed with UFC, that was all people were talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it was just annoying, and we were done with it. So I don't even want to talk CM Punk right now. You guys can go ahead.
No. Yeah, I'm not gonna go that route. So
who knows what the future brings? Anyway, we're gonna hit a commercial break here, guys. When we come back,
there was a rumor you were talking about, John. So maybe we'll come back to that after the commercial, right?
Rumor.
I'll talk to you off air about it.
When we come back.
Yeah, I'm all flustered now.
Yes, he does, because I'm like, wait a minute, did I forget something?
Okay, that's why we have commercial breaks.
Exactly. We got some, for the first time in weeks, I believe for the first time since, or at least not much more than the first time since Marc's been on the show, we're actually talking TNA.
Oh.
I know, Aaron's like, okay, cool, I can get to go use the bathroom. We got some TNA, we have some Ziggler rumor, we got our Rawsome moments, and TNA's Miracle. Who is it? If you guys didn't see Impact, which, I didn't even know I had Pop TV until yesterday, so if you guys didn't see it, I don't blame you. Who was the miracle? We'll tell you coming up after the commercial break, guys. But head over to Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at John MEM Radio. Follow Eron at Eron ERON _ PWP. And Marc at the Marc Madison MARC. Follow us on Twitter, guys, and use the hashtag MEM Live and chat with us during the show, or call in 305-600-4708 when we get back. Lots of stuff to get to. Also, we're going to talk some Wrestle Kingdom 10 with Evan Ginsberg of Legends TV coming up in about an hour from now. So a lot to get to in the next 90 minutes or so, guys. Stick around with us. We shall return. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. So you decided to check out Main Event Madness, and now you want to know how you can get the latest news about the show, the hosts, guests, showtimes, and more? Well, the answer's simple. Facebook. Head over to Facebook.com/Main Event Madness and be a part of the hundreds who have already liked the page and are the first to know everything you could ask about Main Event Madness. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness, the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Life's about working. Life's about progress. Why not put them together? Well, we did. Working Progress is here, the Fans View podcast. Matt Brees and Mike Rooker take the latest news and rumors in the world of pro wrestling and add in some NFL and more, and add a fantasy spin to it, and you get Working Progress every month, only on MEMnetwork.wix.com/home. From the ashes of our old website comes a fresh new face from Main Event Madness. MEM Network is here. Check out all of your favorite episodes of Main Event Madness, Working Progress, Wrestling's Rope Break, and Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. More shows to be announced in the future, but check out MEMnetwork.wix.com/home, where the madness runs wild.
Once you have a turned out.
And guys, we are back. Main Event Madness Radio June. January 6th edition of the broadcast, guys. Thank you for taking time out of your night to come hang out with us and hear what we got to say. And if this is your first time listening to us, we hope you guys stick around. We hope you guys, if I could talk right today, like what you guys hear and you guys spread the word out there. We appreciate it if you do. And we're on each and every week, Wednesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern. And to Mark's point before the commercial break, there was one other rumor I've seen floating about. I don't know how much substance there is to it, but with all these signings that WWE is doing, it seems they're going to try to bolster, yet again, the tag team division, most likely of NXT, with signing former TNA tag team champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Yeah, let's try saying that 5 times fast. Guys, first off, do you think it'll happen? And 2, are you excited of the prospect of the Motor City Machine Guns, the New Day, Vaudevillains, Enzo and Cass, the Dudley Boys, potentially all being in the same tag division?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, it's definitely something interesting. I think this kind of speaks a lot toward Triple H as executive vice president of talent. I mean, he seems to be more open to bringing guys in from TNA, from New Japan, from ROH, from all over. With the help of William Regal and his talent scouts. He's definitely more willing. If he said it multiple times, if you can help our brand and you can help us get better and be a better product, then he's willing to bring you in. And I think that really shows, because I don't think anybody Vince or anybody else who's been in that same role would even look at the Motor City Machine Guns as bringing them in. And both of them are kind of in their 30s, and they've been around for a long time. So it's something very interesting, and I'd love to see him in WWE.
I used to be a huge Chris Sabin fan, and the problem that I have is I believe he was injured for some time. And yeah, it's one of those things where, if you stop riding a bike and get back on, it's almost the same thing. But the concern that I would have, for as much as they've achieved and able to achieve, is that chemistry still there? Is that personality still there? Keeping them together. I mean, for a time, Kushida and Alex Shelley were time splitters, and they were really successful, and it was fantastic when they were in New Japan. But I wonder, in trying to recreate a tag team, much like we talk about with the Balor Bullet Club, if it's going to be as successful with them too. Are they going to be given the leniency or the freedom to do the things that they did? It's more questions that you end up having for other guys. Yeah, ideally, it would be great. I mean, but they were really successful in TNA at a time when TNA's X division was really hot and their tag team division was really, moving, and things were really working out well. If they can stay healthy, again, just like everybody else, they're fighting the clock with time, and hopefully they can still overcome that and be as successful as they were. But I'm this one here, I'm a little more skeptical because of them being apart, injuries to Sabin. So we'll see.
Now, from one company's tag division, potentially, to another company's tag division. Last night on Pop TV, in Impact's return, James Storm returned to TNA in a move that several fans were a bit upset about, as they were liking the idea of James Storm in NXT. But James Storm returned to TNA and helped out Bobby Roode and then gave him a beer, thus teasing a reunion of beer money. Now, pun intended. First off, do you guys think there's money in a beer money reunion? And are you happy that Storm is back in TNA?
Mark, you can go ahead on this one.
When it comes to James Storm, he had to make a decision that worked best for him. Ideally, anybody else. Rumors that are floated, I might have even seen it on pwtnation.com. There's a plug for you there. As to the reason he didn't sign is because the offer that he was given just was substantially lower than he should have been getting, and what he was offered made sense for him to move to TNA, move back there, right? He was a signature character, a signature person there. Does that help them? Yes. Does it hurt their heavyweight division? What are the other options that they're developing there, right? That's what you have to look at, because at the expense of reforming beer money, do you split up the Hardys? It seems like, are the parts interchangeable? That's what I start to wonder about. Is there money in it? Well, then they have to, that's what I wonder about when it comes to Storm and Roode. If they would have been better off trying to pursue individual, like the heavyweight division, and try and succeed and try and build up those talents, or having them be a tag team and take a step back. I don't know. That's something I almost want to wait a few months, kind of let sit and see what happens with Pop TV 2. Everything is so new and fresh. I don't want to jump the gun and say that it will or won't work just yet. Eric?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm surprised with WWE here because of the fact that they're usually really careful about this stuff. I mean, they usually because the thing that really surprised me was that when Storm was on NXT TV, I mean, he was presented like he was a full talent. I mean, I remember the most recent match he had. The announcers were really selling him as a guy who was part of the NXT roster and was there to stay. And usually WWE doesn't put guys in that position on TV if they don't have them signed. So I was surprised, hearing recently that he wasn't signed in the first place. So that was interesting to me as well. But Storm, I don't want to bash Storm because I think he's made the best decision for him and what he's, I don't know what kind of situation he's in and what, how he looked at things and how he decided on his decision. But, for me, I've already been to TNA. I've already been there. So I don't understand why he would want to go back and stay there. And no offense to TNA, but they're kind of a sinking ship, and I don't know if I personally, if I was James Storm, I would want to go back. I mean, yes, they might have lowballed you an offer, but I'm assuming they lowballed him an offer because that's what they pay, talent on NXT that come in on a minimum salary, and they're given opportunity. And I think, someone like Storm, who maybe just felt like, the company wasn't going to ever do something with him, and he felt like maybe he was just there to help NXT, and then he would be let go eventually and never really get a chance on the main roster as a top talent. Maybe that's what he thought, and that's why he was like, you know what, I might as well just go back to TNA because they're going to pay me well, and I'm going to be treated as a top guy here. So, he made his decision. That, would I have liked to see him in NXT and be presented as a top guy there? Yeah, I thought he did really well in his few TV matches. I thought the fans really accepted him and were happy that he was there. But in the end, he made his decision. Now he's got to deal with it.
And the worst thing. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Oh. Sorry, one question though that I had for you, Eron, because we were talking about when it comes to contracts between him and Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how would Joe's? I mean, we don't know dollars, and we can always guess. But what is it that's so much more enticing about Joe that keeps him there, do you think? That pulls him and continues to push him in that direction, whereas James politely said, thank you, but no thank you. Whereas apparently the door is still left open in the future. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I've read here or there.
Yeah. I wish I knew what Joe's contract was, because I don't know if they're being paid the same, if Joe's being paid more. I'm going to assume Joe's being paid more, and I think that the reason for that is they, the way they debuted him as, someone who came in as a challenger to the NXT title right away, with Kevin Owens,
right.
And James being brought in as someone who's just kind of here, and they acknowledge that he's a quote unquote big star in the independent scene, refusing to mention TNA, which I love. I just find that so hilarious that they just act like TNA is not even a thing.
They're doing the same thing with AJ Styles.
It's so funny though.
They talk about his time in WCW. And
yeah.
Like it's not even there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even there.
And I think it's become a running joke now. I think it's a rib now, where they just say like, let's see how long we can go without mentioning TNA. So even in Sting's DVD, they barely. I think Sting said it like one time, and that was it. But for Storm, I think the way he, I think the difference between the two is that they brought in Joe as someone who was going to be one of their top guys immediately, and I think Hunter and the staff in NXT just didn't feel like James was a, I guess, big enough asset to them to pay him a substantial amount of money on the same platform as a Finn Balor or Samoa Joe, because those guys are getting paid much higher than any other talent. Guys like I think the echelon of the tiers are Sami Zayn is getting paid a high salary along with Balor. I'm assuming Samoa Joe. I think Hideo Itami's in that mix as well. So I don't know what WWE or NXT or the officials down there, they have these two separate tiers, and I don't know what categorizes each guy to go into which category. If I'm looking at the James Storm and Samoa Joe, I'd say they're on level playing field. I mean, in TNA they were treated as top guys respectively. So if WWE decided to lowball James Storm with an offer, then that's how they value him. That's how they look at him and say, this is where we evaluate you at. We think you're at this point. We think you're this important to our brand. And James Storm obviously wasn't happy with that and said, you know what, I can make maybe double this in TNA, and that's what I'm going to go do.
Sorry, I was trying to... If my phone wanted to cooperate, I had a weekly salary amount for the NXT roster, and Samoa Joe was on here.
Mm.
But
that'd be really nice to have. I mean, he's definitely getting paid more than an average NXT talent. and he's probably getting paid something close to the main roster. Same goes for Balor.
It has to be close to it. I know the biggest contract amount I saw, because I remembered reading this not too long ago, was Rhino.
I did not know that.
And he was like $30,000 a week or something, or a show or something like that. It was something outrageous.
But he can still do independent bookings on his own, right, on the side?
I believe so. I'm getting up the link right now.
Okay. So,
yeah, this is weekly salaries, estimated earnings. Rhino was $35,000 and Samoa Joe was $30,000.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that really, if those numbers are accurate, I think it really shows. I think dollar amounts really show how the company feels about you, and if they're paying you a certain amount, this is what they think you're worth to them, and they feel like Rhino and Joe are worth more than James Storm, and they might be right.
Now I don't know if they get paid for a full 52-week pay scale, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Joe's getting $1.5 million a year, so I mean, if we're going comparatively, no wonder why Storm walked away from it.
Yeah.
Is he actually on
here?
He is not. Okay. Wow, the Divas don't make nothing. Looking at a lot of $1,500 a week, which I mean, I love $1,500 a week, but comparatively,
that was something that AJ Lee, when she had tweeted during that whole "Give Divas a Chance," started up that Twitter issue between her and Stephanie. Why aren't your women paid on par, or at least given the opportunity to? When you talk about equality out of one side of your mouth, and yet when it comes to paying your talent, you show real distinction. So it shows, right? But they're not being utilized in a way where they unfortunately should be getting paid, because some of them, Sasha Banks, you see the sacrifices that they make. So what is the value of the women's division? It seems like it's worth a lot more to stay in NXT and be booked, as opposed to being called to the main roster and being mishandled and put together in a big lump. So,
but nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Storm and TNA, whether or not they go the beer money route or whether that was just a one-off thing, try to lure in a few old-time fans for long-time fans for TNA. I'm slightly intrigued to see if they go that route. And with the Miracle being revealed, we'll get to that in a few minutes. Slightly intrigued, I guess would be the best way to put it. Am I going to go out of my way to watch Impact? Probably not. But I think I'll keep an eye on it a little bit more because I'm a fan of Mike Bennett's. So, But we had a Dolph Ziggler story. We'll get to that later on if we have time. Some Rawsome moments of the week. We'll get through these fairly quickly here. Chris Jericho was back, and I wish if I had more time today, I would have had the video queued up. Anybody else kind of laugh at the timing of that, considering Jericho just said like a week ago that he wasn't going to be at WrestleMania?
That's what Jericho does. He does it all the time. When we reported that on PWP Nation, I was the one that reported it, and I even put in the bottom, I little author's note, I said, Jericho's been known to lie about these things, and he's been known to say he's not going to be there, but he ends up appearing anyway. And one of the key indications if Jericho's going to be there or not, and I tell people all the time, you have to look up and see if Fozzy has any dates anywhere. If Fozzy has no dates, which they don't have any dates until I think April or something, then he'll be back. And I think that's that's a key indicator. He always does this. He thinks he's so smart when he does that, but he I knew right away when he.
I don't think it's so much of a case of him being smart as much of being a smart ass.
He likes to have fun.
It's funny because a bulk of wrestling fans, every single freaking time, he's done it for 5 years now.
Yeah. Mhm.
Every single frickin' time he does it, a bulk of wrestling fans eat it right up.
Yeah.
Oh, Jericho won't be back. He said he won't be back. Dum-dum-dum. Break
Yeah.
the walls down. Oh my God! He said he wouldn't be back. And that's how a lot of wrestling fans are.
If it works, keep at it. And that's probably the mentality that he has. Like, until people actually think the exact opposite, that I'm saying the exact opposite of what I mean, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yep.
And you're gonna have enough people that he knows the social media aspect of it, and he knows how to play it. He's so clever with it too. So this isn't his first rodeo. So whether it came to reintroducing him and the vignettes, like, okay, so save us. Who is this? And when he first came back, the multiple times, and the vignettes of the kid, the child in the schoolroom, and who is it that's saying that they're the best in the world, and that whole feud between him and Punk, and how that kind of all came about. And okay, not until the last possible second did things leak out and spill out. But he holds his cards really close to his chest, and you gotta respect a guy that knows what he's doing when it comes to it. That was one of the things that worked well with Punk. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Mean to mention it. Damn it, Eron. I'm trying the no P rule. I'm trying to allude to it. But yeah, I mean, he's going to keep at it. He's going to keep doing it. And we should almost tip our hat to it and just don't comment until we actually see them. Yeah, that's typical Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because WWE was bordering on just being a bunch of cheeky bastards with the New Day counting down to their surprise. It's like,
that was really nice. I really liked that.
I did too. That
was a nice little subtle thing that they decided to do. Instead of just having him interrupt them out of nowhere, that was a really subtle thing. I really enjoyed that.
It's like, New Day has a surprise! 10, 9.
And did everyone see Xavier sell how much he was selling Jericho when he came out? He was just screaming. And Xavier, I love the New Day. I think they're being beaten into the ground, but I love them anyway.
I'm going to beg to differ with that. I think in the last few weeks they've scaled back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that segment on Raw was awful.
Which one? This recent one?
The one where they were pretending to, they were reenacting Mike Tyson's.
That was awful, right? But they scaled back on the amount of time that they're showing up on a show. So we're not getting them in the first hour and then in the third hour. We might just get them in that 1 hour. But yeah, that was really overdone, and they were reaching. And I think sometimes they need to really think out the process. But yeah, that one wasn't as well or as effective as the other ones. But I'm not finding in the last few weeks it's been overdone. You've got them again. You've got them 3 times in the same show, and you're exhausted from seeing them. But when you do see them, it needs to be a lot more effective than it is. So.
But I think the whole point of it was they went out there for a bad skit because for some reason they bring Chris Jericho back as a babyface when they should bring him back as a heel.
Mm-hmm. Last time we saw him, he was potentially a heel, right?
Yeah, with
walked down on Ambrose and
Reigns, yeah. And then you interrupt. I mean, as much as they're booked as heels, you interrupt the New Day.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, is Jericho heel now?
Yeah.
Because I mean, but sure enough, I mean they had. I think the point of them doing like a little bit of a less on par promo by their standards was to kind of get more of a heel reaction, at least from the crowd, so that way they gravitate towards Chris Jericho more and make it a little bit more impactful.
I don't know. I think they thought that was going to be funny, and it really didn't connect. Which I mean, hey, they've had a really good batting average. They've done really well for the majority of the times they go out there. They do a really good job, and they're funny. Just this one just kind of fell flat. It's okay.
And I mean, to your point too, it's kind of like McMahon was like, "Yeah, I'll write your promos this week. We're gonna make fun of Mike Tyson."
Speaking of Vince McMahon, I couldn't make sense of that ending to Raw. Like, why not just make the pin? You're in the ring. You're
Oh yeah, that was really interesting.
that was awkward.
Or why not DQ him?
He's actually got his senses,
Yeah.
and he's waiting for Scott Armstrong to come in.
Mm-hmm.
But you're laying on the mat. You've got your wits about you.
Did anyone see? Did anyone see his horrible pin attempts at the very beginning of the match, where he would drop like to the ground and then do with both of his hands? He'd
switch hands.
Oh no!
He trying to play New Day Rocks with his hands on the mat. I mean,
I don't know.
Is he on some roids or what? Like, I know everybody keeps saying, even Muscle and Fitness came out to defend him. Mm-hmm. And was boasting about his workout regimen and everything. I'm sorry, but veins popping out like that at 70 years old, come on now.
I mean, from what I hear, the guy doesn't sleep. I mean, the guy sleeps like a couple hours at the office and then gets up and he has like a 2-a-day workout. I mean, it's possible that's natural. I mean, who knows? I mean, the guy looks fantastic. I mean, I thought he was hilarious when he was flexing into the camera, and we'd come back from break and it's a close-up of his pecs and he's flexing. So he's, and I mentioned this to Joel on the phone because we usually have a little talk after Raw or something, but I said to him, it's so interesting to see Vince on TV now because he's so far and above everyone else, and that's not a knock on everyone else. That's just how great of a character the Mr. McMahon character is, and he kind of overacts, but it's still good, and he does such a great job of really selling everything he's part of, and I think a lot of the main roster can really learn from what he's been doing the last couple of weeks being on TV. He's just so good at being Mr. McMahon. Like it's so fascinating to watch him on TV. I love
people like us, we're eating it up because we all grew up on the McMahon character. And we didn't have it. We haven't really had the McMahon character for the last 3-4 years. I mean, he really hasn't been there that much. Yeah. So, to finally get him back and in a semi-consistent basis, it's just like, it's nostalgic. Mm-hmm. And Vince is proving again, like, I was listening to a radio show earlier today, and they're laughing their asses off at Vince.
Yeah.
Just all the crazy antics that Vince is doing, like the mugshot and everything.
He's fantastic. He totally gets it as far as how to be a character on TV. And I think a lot of the stuff he books, I think he wants people to do it like he would do it, but they just don't do it the way he does. It's really just a weird dynamic where he's so good at being that character, but
he can't get away from it.
There. Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, were you guys expecting Triple H to come back?
I was. That's what I was waiting for. I thought he was going to return on Raw.
At some point, I thought he was the next referee to come out. Like, he's calling for somebody, and then you get Stephanie kind of just, like, running down. And
yeah, just how quiet it was when Vince was calling for it. I'm like, okay, well, they're trying to quiet everything down, wait for it. And time to play the game. I know he is King of Kings, but whatever.
I'm calling it now, and I could be way off, but I don't think we see Triple H until Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. I think at that point he makes some sort of goofy moment, or you just think that there's been all the entrants have been announced in some screwy way or attempted screwy way to Roman out. And it just seems like it's, a climax, a moment where it's not just any other Raw that you just kind of show up on. Because they've got 3 more weeks, I guess, to build towards Royal Rumble, so they're going to have to stretch it out some way or another, right?
I could see them easily doing something similar. I could see them doing something similar to when, I don't know if anyone remembers when Cena won, I think, the Elimination Chamber, and then Vince came out with Batista, all fresh and new, and he said, John, you got one more guy to go up against, and this guy. And then I think they could do something similar where they have Roman beat the odds, go through 29 other guys, and have the title and be celebrating, and then Vince's music hit, and he says, you know what, you got one more entrant, into the Royal Rumble, and you have Hunter either walk down the ramp or even come from behind and throw him out, and then Hunter wins the title, and you have Roman once again being defeated. This entire dynamic is so interesting, and I think it really kind of has pumped the Royal Rumble match with a big shot of adrenaline. I mean, I think it's really kind of made the entire WrestleMania season more interesting.
Does Daniel Bryan get involved in anything in any capacity with the Royal Rumble match?
No.
No, not if they want Roman Reigns to continue on this high where people are gravitating towards him. Mm-hmm. They're going to take away all the steam that they had built towards him. I know they tried in having, even with Fastlane last year, right, the pay-per-view, and having Daniel Bryan be the one to say, you've got my support moving forward. That's not good enough. He has to be out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. If anything, post-WrestleMania is probably best to have Daniel come back if he does.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Or do you think he could come back in some way and we finally get that Daniel Bryan Sheamus match that Vince has wanted for the last 763 years? At least it seems like.
I don't think Daniel could even be on TV. Yeah. Because I think any he could hijack it with, and this is something that's really interesting too, because I think the Royal Rumble match is going to be really tricky, because if they decide to go ahead with Roman winning the Rumble match, retaining his title, I think that could do two different things. I think it could either go one way or the other, where either people look at it as, oh, this guy's such a badass, he just defeated 29 other guys, and he's look at him, he beat the odds and all that stuff. Or people could look at it as, this is John Cena 2.0. He's won 2 Royal Rumbles in a row. He's defeated 29 other guys by himself, and I think a lot of people can look at it as, the company's trying to shove him down our throat again. And I think it could really backfire on them if they're going to give him the Rumble match. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they decide to book the Rumble match with him.
Well, they're not going to be in a really particular city like a Philadelphia, like a New York, like a Chicago, where
Orlando,
the crowd so it's going to be an NXT heavy crowd, which could really work against them if they have NXT talent in it. But at the same time, maybe they're going to try and do a different spin on it. I still think the impossible would be, and this is more of a prediction, I don't know why I'm in the mood of predictions, but having Daniel Bryan return and trying to make him a heel in some way aligned with the Authority is a total... No, that would be the way to try to bring him back. Like, it may not be a long-term fix, but having Daniel Bryan as a heel, the best heels end up becoming faces, right? So why can't it be back and forth? And what's his motivation for being with the Authority? That they actually supported him and provided him the financial aid. I mean, there's a whole backstory that they could have created in having him be the guy, right? So.
And to Aaron's point, that's why I mentioned it. Vince comes out and says either after Elimination Chamber or after the Royal Rumble, there's one more guy. And out comes Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan beats him. Or even not beats him, but, just shows that he's aligned with the Authority.
I still think people would cheer him.
Yeah. It would have to be post-Mania. They'd have to either ride this wave of trying to get Roman to succeed and really have everyone behind him, because Daniel will deflate it. He's got to do something pretty dastardly in order to get people to cheer him. But now would not be the right time to do it.
Well, as a follow-up, let me ask you is, one thing you guys mentioned. If this goes bad, do they bring in Bryan?
No.
Even if it falls on his face and he's booed out of the building, like you said, John Cena 2.0, and, people turn on the idea. You don't think that they try to bring him back to try to be, maybe they just say, the hell with it, we'll turn Reigns heel and try to get people to like him that way?
I don't know. Mark, what do you think? I don't think so. I think there's no way they bring back Bryan during this entire... I think he's going to miss WrestleMania. I think he's going to... If they do decide to bring him back, it's going to be after WrestleMania. if he gets cleared by their doctors, which I'm pretty convinced that they've kind of made their mind up about that, and they're pretty sure that they're not going to bring him back.
I think personally they're going to move towards a Lesnar Reigns rematch at WrestleMania. I think that becomes kind of his coronation validation that if he's going to do it, he does it against the biggest dog that's out there, and to have them kind of meet. There's got to be some way to set up, who faces the winner of the Rumble match faces the champion. Well, how do they do that if the champion is the one that retains? Do they do something? I think it's Fastlane. That's the February pay-per-view. If they're going to do something there, they really. It wasn't a very good pay-per-view last year, but there were some moments that they tried to have that really stand out, which led to WrestleMania. So it's almost like look out for the next couple pay-per-views because I'm sure it's definitely going to set up towards WrestleMania anyway. So.
I don't mean to overkill it with asking about the Bryan stuff. I don't have any other questions about that. I only mention it because with the roster and the shape it's in, you don't think they wouldn't want him? I mean, even if they keep him as far away from the main event.
No.
You don't think they'd want to use him just
any return of Bryan will derail Roman's push because they'll see him on the show and they'll want him in the main event, and that's exactly we saw last time with it's a completely different situation, but with Bryan as the IC champion, people still wanted him in the main event. I think we saw it with the Cena Orton thing when they try to unify the titles. The guy was in the ring, and they hijacked the show and wanted Daniel Bryan in the main event. So I think if Bryan makes any type of return, I think they're going to want him in the main event, and it'll really kill any type of progress that Roman's made as a likable babyface champion. I think once Roman maybe loses the title, they can decide to bring him back. But I don't know when that will be.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. They just signed some major talent. How do they play with those talent to replace the Cesaros that are missing and Seth that's missing and Randy Orton? Like, the big names are out. They've got big names that are coming in. They may feel forced to kind of push these guys up because there's a lot of NXT talent that's just not really to move up. And they still want them to learn the style, but this might be the time to do it. So I personally think when it comes to the NXT title, they're going to move towards an Apollo Crews title reign at some point. That may just be that might just be the way in which they go. I think, who knows? It'll be very quick to see how they're going to decide on moving guys forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, is Apollo Crews and Samoa Joe? You think is that the NXT title feud for NXT Dallas?
I think we're going to see Balor and Sami Zayn as the top match in Dallas. Personally, I
could dig it. But
yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna hit.
It looks like Corbin. It looks like Corbin's getting the push anyway towards the title. So, let's see how they intertwine each.
It'll be interesting for sure.
Yep.
But guys, we're gonna hit another commercial break. When we come back, I'm gonna quickly glance over a little bit more from Impact last night because I know that's like pulling teeth with Eron. And
I've just given up on them, so.
And also, some talk, Wrestle Kingdom 10. We got Evan Ginsberg of Legends TV. I think he's around because he's been retweeting us on Twitter, which, by the way, Marc's on his way out, so if you want to give him a follow, it'll make his night. Follow him on Twitter.
It will.
At the Marc Madison. And make Marc's night. We should make that a hashtag. Hashtag make Marc's night. But before we go, sir, plug away.
So before I kind of sign off, I did want to thank, again, you guys. I'm hoping that the rest of your week is going to be great. But coming up next week, we will have a special guest. I was mentioning this to John. I'm pretty excited about it. We're going to have Sebastian Schwab, who is an independent wrestler. If you guys remember, a couple months back, had James Key, the managing director of Smash Wrestling. Sebastian is one half of a tag team that is known as the Overdogs, and they've got a special event that's taking place. It's going to be Smash Wrestling versus CZW. So Combat Zone Wrestling invades Canada, and they're going to have a huge event. Formerly, the focus point would be former NXT wrestler Solomon Crow, who is now back to being Sami Callihan, will be featured in the main event against also NXT wrestler, and he is the Smash Wrestling champion, Johnny Gargano. So it's going to be a pretty big event. I'm going to have Sebastian on next week. We're going to talk some Smash versus CZW, maybe get a different perspective on what's happening with wrestling itself. Really cool guy. He's a Blue Jays fan, so that's not a bad thing either. He's also a Toronto Raptors fan. We might touch on some other things as well, and looking forward to that. I've got some stuff coming up with the Richest. I've got about as many as 4 columns coming out. I'm pretty excited about them. They're going to be looking at the successful fathers that sons couldn't match up to and sons that exceeded their father's expectations. Those are a couple. We're going to look at some things about the Wyatt family and things you may or may not necessarily have known about, along with the times that the WWF made you want to hate the world. Former foreigner-type characters that, between the 80s up until modern day, were so disliked and maybe not necessarily always pulled off in the best possible way. And I'll have something up on tgrwrestling.net talking about the validation of Roman Reigns and how Roman Reigns work. And I know Evan Ginsberg also doesn't have issue with Reigns. He actually doesn't mind him at all. So hopefully this will come off as well. And that should hopefully be going up either Friday or Saturday. So keep checking me out, therichest.com and tgrwrestling.net. And hopefully maybe one day on PWP Nation, talking to Eron. So
yeah, we're talking about something, so we'll let you know when that happens.
Yeah, that's some interesting stuff. Also, something that was just recently announced, and actually I'm going to have the fortune of going to, WWE will be coming back to Toronto, but they tour everywhere. But the next WWE Network Live special will be happening in Toronto, and I will be there live. I won't be live tweeting it, but I will write up and report on it and share it on our next show. That would be March, leading into the March break. I think it's March 12th or 10th. I'm not quite sure, but it would be the Saturday of the March break. I think it's the 12th, March 12th. It's Saturday. It's going to be a live WWE Network special live in Toronto. We don't know who's going to be there. That's the special part. It could be The Undertaker. Brock might be there. We're all excited, so I'll be fair to share that with all of you afterwards.
Sounds awesome, man. I wish I could be going. I am like a stone's throw away from Toronto. I'm like 4 hours from there. But unfortunately, with the timing of that, I'm actually going to be heading to Florida.
Ah, very well.
I'm leaving on, as it stands right now, I'm leaving on March 9th to go down to Florida for a couple weeks.
Well, we have to go and attend a Smash show together, even if I get the both of you guys up here and we set up a time. And they bring in great quality talent. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And unfortunately, I won't be able to go to this event, but Sebastian will hopefully be able to share with us what's happening. So, yeah.
I'm down sometime.
Super.
But, all right, Mark, we will talk in the next couple days, man. Take care and have a great rest of your week, man. Look forward to next week, and look forward to talking to you in the next couple days.
Will do. All of us, guys.
Mark.
Take care.
So, we're going to hit a commercial break. I got to, Oh. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if this is breaking news or not, but evidently John Cena's hurt.
That's not good.
Yeah, buddy of mine just put in here, Cena's apparently going for shoulder surgery.
That's no bueno at all.
Could this be the first WrestleMania since WrestleMania 18 without John Cena and Randy Orton appearing? The prospect of that.
Well, I'm going to get my sources on it real quick and see what I can scratch up.
So, guys, we're going to hit a commercial break here. That's a seemingly pretty big little tidbit. So, and I mean, we seem to always stumble upon these kind of news stories when we're doing this show. But we'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. Main Event Madness. Follow us on Twitter at John MEM Radio, at ERON_PWP, Aaron_PWP. And Evan Ginsberg will be with us in about 10-15 minutes from now. We shall return. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. So you decided to check out Main Event Madness, and now you want to know how you can get the latest news about the show, the hosts, guests, showtimes, and more? Well, the answer's simple. Facebook. Head over to Facebook.com/Main Event Madness and be a part of the hundreds who have already liked the page and are the first to know everything you could ask about Main Event Madness. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness, the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Life's about working. Life's about progress. Why not put them together? Well, we did. Working Progress is here, the Fans View podcast. Matt Brees and Mike Rooker take the latest news and rumors in the world of pro wrestling and added some NFL and more, and add a fantasy spin to it, and you get Working Progress every month, only on MEMnetwork.wix.com/home. From the ashes of our old website comes a fresh new face from Main Event Madness. MEM Network is here. Check out all of your favorite episodes of Main Event Madness, Working Progress, Wrestling's Rope Break, and Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. More shows to be announced in the future, but check out MEMnetwork.wix.com/home, where the madness runs wild. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. So you decided to check out Main Event Madness, and now you want to know how you can get the latest news about the show, the hosts, guests, showtimes, and more? Well, the answer's simple. Facebook. Head over to Facebook.com/Main Event Madness and be a part of the hundreds who have already liked the page and are the first to know everything you could ask about Main Event Madness. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness, the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Life's about working. Life's about progress. Why not put them together? Well, we did. Working Progress is here, the Fans View podcast. Matt Brees and Mike Rooker take the latest news and rumors in the world of pro wrestling and added some NFL and more, and add a fantasy spin to it, and you get Working Progress every month, only on MEMnetwork.wix.com/home. From the ashes of our old website comes a fresh new face from Main Event Madness. MEM Network is here. Check out all of your favorite episodes of Main Event Madness, Working Progress, Wrestling's Rope Break, and Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. More shows to be announced in the future, but check out MEMnetwork.wix.com/home, where the madness runs wild.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Madness. I call Aaron Ramat. All right, folks, we are back. Main Event Madness, January 6th edition of the broadcast. Thank you for tuning in tonight, guys. We do appreciate it. And if you guys haven't already, or you guys are new to us, please head over to Facebook.com/Main Event Madness or Facebook.com/ it is PWP Nation, right?
Correct. PWPnation.com. Hopefully I can say it.
And also, check out their website and check out their Facebook page. Give them a like. Show your support for them. They got a great site over there. They just added some MMA over there, so if you guys are mixed martial arts fans, UFC fans, get over to their website and check it out. They got a great website over there, and only improving by the day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But all right, so I promised that this would be quick. The Miracle. If you guys have been watching Impact Wrestling, they've been promoting somebody coming in as the quote-unquote Miracle. That Miracle turned out to be none other than Mike Bennett and Maria. How do you think that Mike Bennett could add a shot of adrenaline to TNA, Eron? Or do you think it's a little too late, kind of too little too late?
Listen, I think a lot of things can add a little bit of adrenaline to TNA. I mean, they have such a thinning roster. Things are not always as they seem. And I think a lot of people, would think that they would add something to the main roster. I mean, that's obvious, of course. I like Mike Bennett. I've met him a couple times here in Northeast Wrestling. He's a really nice guy. Same thing goes to Maria. Mm-hmm. She's really nice. I'm happy for them. They obviously got a nice fat check to come over to TNA, which is always happy. I'm always happy to see people that have been on the indies for so long get a nice big contract or a nice big payday. I mean, there are a lot of things that the company could do to get better. I mean, they're not just on a talent portion, but on multiple fronts. So, will he add something to the company? Of course, because he's such a talented professional wrestler, and Maria is really good. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if they can push this guy to the top and have him as a featured player on the show, then I could see some people tuning in just to see Bennett on a national level.
I'm curious to see what he does, or what they allow him to do, which, I mean, they don't. That's one thing that is good about TNA, is that they don't hinder it too much. The talent that is what he'll bring to the party, in terms of, do they push him as the guy? Do they push him as, just, hey, Mike Bennett's here? Yeah. I mean, I watched the clip, at least, of him coming out and being revealed as the Miracle, and they made no wasted effort in making it out to be a big acquisition for TNA, and that it was a big deal. There was big hoopla around him coming in, so I hope they follow up on it. And as much as I bash TNA, mm-hmm. competition brings out the best in anybody. Mm-hmm. And yeah. I mean, if they're serious, and the fact that they're handing out guaranteed contracts, which, I mean, one could assume that they gave one to Bennett, and that's why he so gladly left Ring of Honor for TNA. And mm-hmm. the same for James Storm.
Yep. Yeah.
There's
so many things they can do. They need talent.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a diminishing roster for such a long time, and it's slowly getting, their talent pool is getting less and less every couple of months. So bringing in Bennett and other people would definitely help.
Eesh. That is not what WWE would want to see.
No.
Did you see the timeline on that?
6. We're talking about the Cena thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 6. We might as well just inform the listeners here.
Yeah. Hold up. I haven't been able to do this in quite a long time.
All right.
You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah.
I used to get yelled at for this. The following is a breaking news alert brought to you by Main Event Madness. I miss being able to use my sound effects.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron.
So apparently, the first sign of this was congrats to Mike Johnson of PW Insider for breaking the story. But according to members-only subscription to PW Insider, former WWE champion John Cena will reportedly have shoulder surgery and will miss this year's WrestleMania. Via Twitter, Cena confirmed that he will be having the surgery in Birmingham, Alabama, by the infamous Dr. James Andrews. This injury is a rotator cuff injury. Cena's been having problems with his back and shoulder for some time now throughout the year. And this will apparently keep him out of action for 6 to 9 months, which means he will definitely miss WrestleMania unless he can pull something off. And remember when he was hurt with his elbow going to Hell in a Cell, and he was supposed to be out for like 9 to 12 months, and he came back in like 6 or something. So, hey, I wouldn't put it past this guy. I mean, John Cena is a freak of nature. The guy is 38 years old now, so things might be catching up with him.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it past this guy to come back before WrestleMania. I really wouldn't. But this definitely is not a good thing for WWE. This is something that I think a lot of people might start rejoicing, and thank God Cena's going to be out. This is not a good thing for WWE.
That is very bad.
Yeah, and it kind of explains why he wasn't on Raw.
Yeah, I mean, did you have a weird feeling about it? I mean, they put all the hype into him coming back on Raw the week before, and then he's nowhere. He's not mentioned, nothing.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was interesting. I mean, he was supposed to be on SmackDown. I don't know if he was or not.
He cut a promo to kick it off.
There you go. So,
and the fact that he didn't wrestle either.
Exactly. I think it's definitely something that is going to shake up the plans for WrestleMania. Reportedly, they had all their top matches lined out already, with Cena being in one of them, and that they reportedly, all their top guys were going to be. They were all set with all of them. Now this obviously changes everything, and they're going to have to throw the book out again and start from scratch. And this is something that is just not a good thing. I mean, and this only, makes the urgency of AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura and all these other guys, Carl Anderson and even Daniel Bryan, who we talked at length about earlier tonight. This might make WWE think otherwise about Daniel Bryan and about maybe trying to push along other guys from NXT to come up. I mean, people don't understand. This is a huge blow to WWE.
It's the equivalent of losing The Rock for a WrestleMania during the Attitude Era. I mean, not obviously in terms of fandom and popularity and all that, but in terms of WWE booking and in terms of it being WrestleMania and the fact that yes, Roman Reigns is WWE champion, which, by the way, newsflash for you guys who hate Roman Reigns, get used to him now. You're losing the cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to force WWE to invest in Roman Reigns and in Kevin Owens and in Bray Wyatt and all these guys. They've been kind of reluctant to put in a star role to do it. I mean, they've got to. I mean, they still have Brock, they still have Taker, they still have Hunter, they still have Roman, they still have a bunch of these guys. But John Cena is a major blow. I mean, a lot of people, and believe it or not, a lot of people will scoff at this idea. But believe it or not, a lot of people watch WWE, not wrestling, WWE for John Cena. A lot of people do. And this is going to be a big blow to them leading into WrestleMania. The guy sells a ton of merchandise. That's no secret. And I think this is going to be a huge blow. I mean, it's something definitely. And I feel bad for the guy himself too, because I know how much he probably wanted to be at WrestleMania this year. It's probably going to be the biggest WrestleMania maybe ever. So it's it's something definitely interesting.
Man, this is twice now. Twice now we kind of saw something and didn't really think anything of it right away, and very quickly escalated into something else. Between Cena, Rollins. This is going to be a very, very interesting WrestleMania.
Yeah.
No Cena, no Orton, no Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
This is Vince has got his work cut out for him now. I mean, I think this answers the question of if AJ is going to the main roster.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost have to now.
Yeah.
And I think Finn Balor is definitely main roster bound now.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, and if it sounds like I'm overreacting a little bit to Cena going out, I mean, there's no replacing that. At least not yet, until Roman Reigns is truly solidified as the next big guy going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have anything else. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot with their shitty booking that they've done for the last number of years, and how they've mishandled Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
And I joked with you about it off the air during the commercial break. Now it gets a little interesting with what they do with Bryan. You know, we mentioned it, you know, half-heartedly when Orton and Rollins got hurt. You know, well, they might bring Bryan back, but probably not.
Yep.
Now Cena's out. You kind of wonder if they're just going to be like, all right, we're just going to bite the bullet on this, and we need the star power, and they do. I mean, at the end of the day, it's WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a good show. They may not get the attendance record that they want to get.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a packed house. It's freaking WrestleMania. It's Texas. They're all wrestling fans in Texas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, bottom line wise, financially, they're going to be fine with WrestleMania. Like I said, it's freaking WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
But and the biggest thing about that is the 6 to 9 months. WrestleMania is only 2.5 months from now, 3 months from now. That's only a small portion. Yeah, that's only a small portion of the time he's going to be missing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kind of gets you excited for the prospects of 33 between the guys that'll be coming back healthy and the guys that could be coming in from TNA, you know, the Angles and Jeff Hardys of the world. But that's so far off in the distance right now that it just now at least, I don't want to speak for you, Eron, but I think it's safe to say we're both very, very interested to see what WWE does.
Mm-hmm. It's like I said, it's going to shake things up. It's going to
quite a bit.
WWE is going to scrap their WrestleMania plans, and they're going to start from scratch. I don't know what they had in mind for Cena. I think, you know, whatever they had in mind for Cena obviously is going to be changed, and whoever they plug into that role, or if they change whatever they were going to do, or whatever, it's going to shake things up. So, you know, as much as people might want to rejoice about this idea of John Cena missing WrestleMania and we don't have to deal with John Cena, you know, the guy's been one of the best things about the show in 2015. I mean, he's been consistent. He's been on the show almost every week, except for the last couple of months where he was filming his reality show with Fox. You know, he's put together great matches. You know, some would argue, I would argue that he was definitely in the running for Superstar of the Year, putting together great matches on a week-to-week basis with the U.S. Open Championship, with guys like Cesaro and Dean Ambrose, and great matches on a week-to-week basis. So this guy's going to be missed not only at WrestleMania, but on a week-to-week basis.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even WrestleMania, but you got SummerSlam that he's going to miss.
Yeah.
If it's indeed that towards the 9 months.
No,
or is this an exaggerated amount, to your point, that they say 6 to 9 months? Because, I mean, remember when he tore his pec, too?
Yeah.
John Cena's going to be out 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
3.5 months later, oh my God, John Cena's back.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, who knows what we're gonna get as far as Cena. I'm in, or when he comes back. I meant to say, and who knows what we're gonna get as far as WrestleMania goes.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting now. I mean, we're all reacting to the talent purge that WWE just did of New Japan. I mean, who else would they get now? I mean, are they going to try to go get somebody else now? Or do you think they maybe even go to the extreme, Aaron? And I didn't mean to cut you off. Mm-hmm. Because of the lack of talent now, and severe lack of talent now, or big names that they have in the roster, do you think that for WrestleMania they do something like a WWE versus NXT?
That's always been an option. They've talked about doing. Internally, they've talked, I think, about doing an NXT WWE crossover show, and I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do with the roster. I mean, it's this is mind blowing, and we've always talked about, when Cena, when all this. The constant year after year being there almost every day, 365 days a year, 24/7, always being part of the WWE schedule and always kind of going 100% all the time. When Cena was finally going to start to break down, and this might be an indication of that. I mean, he's 38 years old, like I said. The guy's been through a couple of injuries before with the neck and the shoulder and the pec and all this different stuff, the elbow. So he's been through it all, and I think that this is just the latest of that. He's been a workhorse for that company, and it's sad. It's sad to see him be taken out of WrestleMania like this. I'm sure, like I said, the guy wants to be a part of the show,
and it's really sad. I mean, for you and I, because I mean, yes, I was a little bit of a fan during the Attitude Era, but for both of us, we really came into WWE, especially you, in the Ruthless Aggression Era.
Yep.
Like, I mean, Wayne and Mark, I mean, growing up, their guys were, Hogan, Undertaker, Nash, or Diesel, and Austin, Rock. For us, it was John Cena, it was Edge, it was Randy Orton, Batista. Mm-hmm. And to start seeing one of these guys go, well, the second one now, I mean, after Batista and Edge, I mean, to see Cena go after being here for the last 15 years, it's kind of surreal, really. I mean, to think that it's gone that quick.
Yep. Yeah. There's nothing more I can really say about the situation. I mean, it's just definitely sad to see him be taken out like this for WrestleMania. I know for a fact that this guy is someone that definitely wanted to be there for it.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep harping on it, but it's very very intriguing to see where they go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Give me just a moment. I'm going to attempt to try to contact Evan and see if he was coming on, because I know he said he had a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me go ahead with it, but he may or may not make it. Apologize for the dead air there, guys. But, yeah, so, I mean, try to come back from that little breaking headline. Dolph Ziggler, they may not go through with this now. On SmackDown, this is a spoiler alert, guys, so if you guys are one of the 3 or 4 people that watch SmackDown faithfully, tune away, this is a spoiler alert. During SmackDown last night, Dolph Ziggler teased a heel turn. He kicked R-Truth in the head, and I either glared at or pushed Neville. I don't remember which one it was. Like I just joked about. I mean, a lot of people would rejoice in the fact that they're going to turn Ziggler heel again. Do you think they go through with it now?
Yeah. It's a long time overdue for this guy. He's been in this role as a babyface for a really long time. He was kind of forced into the role because people liked him so much.
And hated Del Rio.
After he won the world title. And, I think it's definitely something that has been long overdue. He needs a character change. He does. He desperately needs a character change. And this might be just that change. And, maybe he can rejuvenate his career somewhat. After losing Heath Slater on Raw, I don't know how much that could be, how much better he can get with within the company. I think he's kind of reached his peak, and I've said multiple times he's a guy that I was really shocked to hear you know, I was shocked to hear that he he re-signed with WWE for multiple years. Earlier last year when he re-signed. I was surprised that he did that. I thought he was always going to be a guy that would go out there after he left WWE and make it big on the Indies and be someone a featured player for ROH or TNA or even New Japan if he went over there. As a top guy, not a top guy, but a prominent featured guy over there, and kind of be able to wrestle his way and his style and the way he wanted to do it. And I was surprised when he decided to take an extension with WWE. So, I think Dolph, this is a much needed character change for him, and hopefully he gets another shot at maybe getting to the main event level of WWE again.
Now, who do you think they allowed to step up on the babyface side? Because now there's a big... I mean, like I said, nobody's going to replace him, but to attempt to try to fill the void at least, like, numbers-wise, who do you think tries to... or WWE lets step up into that role? I don't think Ryback has it to really step up into that top-tier babyface role.
Are you talking about as far as Cena's injury or Dolph?
With Dolph turning, because if Dolph didn't turn, if they allowed him, I think could. But if Dolph doesn't indeed turn, who do you think could really step up to be, a 1C to Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns? Because that's pretty much all that's left as babyfaces now.
I've been talking for a little bit of time about Wyatt and eventually turning him as a babyface because I'm with Jim Ross 100% when he says that everything about Bray Wyatt screams babyface. The guy has the cool entrance, cool music, cool look. Is just an appealing figure on WWE TV. So I think Wyatt has been someone that I've been talking about turning for a little while because I feel like his heel gimmick is a little bit stagnant. Ryback is someone who could definitely fill that role. Ryback's kind of already in that role where he's considered a top mid-card babyface and has kind of been considered that for a little while now. I think someone like Neville could easily be pushed into that role. There are a bunch of guys that could fill that role. I don't think Ziggler's role was necessarily important. The guy was jobbing to Heath Slater this past Monday Night on Raw, so I don't think the company sees him as that important of a babyface.
And speaking of Neville, am I the only one who's ecstatic that they kind of dropped the program with him and Miz?
Oh, I definitely am.
Oh my! What I heard when I first saw that they were saying something about possibly Miz giving him a makeover. No, just no. Let's just not even really even want to think about even doing that.
I said from the get-go when they started to make fun of his ears, and when they started making fun of his ears and his appearance and his accent, I realized that that's really death to a character. Once you start making fun of a character or a superstar on your roster, and these characters are considered or supposed to, especially Neville, who's supposed to be the man that gravity forgot, and you're really trying to sell the WWE universe on this guy being a larger-than-life character, and you're presenting him in a way where he looks funny and he's being made fun of by the announcers and Miz and all these different people, and you're pretty much telling people that he is a joke. He's a circus animal. They said the same thing about Kalisto this past Monday Night on Raw, where JBL called him WWE's version of Circus Soleil or whatever the hell, and you're basically saying that this guy is just a circus trick. He comes out here and he does his flips and that's who he is, but he should be presented as a larger than life character, a larger than life athlete who can go out there and do amazing things. And that's one of the problems I have with WWE handling Neville and guys like Neville is that they're treated like these circus animals instead of guys that should be presented as larger than life characters.
And it's unfortunate too, and I think that's kind of more of a Vince thing than it is a Triple H thing because you get all sorts of different looks and appeals of wrestlers down in NXT, and none of them are they even I don't know. You can drastically see the difference in a Vince McMahon driven commentary and a Triple H driven commentary.
Yeah.
I mean, they joke a little bit on commentary in NXT, but it's serious. Yeah. It's kind of likened back to King and JR, in the early 2000s. They joked a little bit, but they were serious.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, that the commentary was never able to recover from. They put far too much of an emphasis. Giving Michael Cole a character a few years ago was one thing, but I think they put far too much of an emphasis on him for far too long. And the fact that he got the third top billing for WrestleMania 27.
I don't think he's ever recovered. I don't think the fans have ever recovered from turning him like that.
Nope.
And that's one of the reasons why I think people don't like him that much. I think Michael Cole has gotten much better on the announce team and as far as announcing big moments. I mean, a lot of it, people have to understand, a lot of it is Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn speaking to him and telling him what to say, and that's a lot of the reason why people don't like Michael Cole, is because he's being instructed how to talk and how to deliver news and how to speak and what to promote and when to promote it. So I think, he, when you look at his SmackDown days, when he was the lead announcer on SmackDown, he was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic on SmackDown with Taz being able to be himself and be able to speak from his mouth and his brain and be able to say what he wants to say. I think he can. They need to allow him to do that, but I also think they've never recovered. WWE's never recovered. Michael Cole's never recovered from
his character. The whole 2011 heel turn.
Exactly. People haven't forgotten, and they haven't forgiven him for it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they book these guys and how they present these guys like Neville, and they need to do a better job of trying to make these guys into bigger and better superstars, larger than life guys, instead of these guys are just nobodies, and you shouldn't care.
And I mean, I just wish that they would let Cole go back to what he was. Because, even with JBL the first time around. And actually, I'll even cut myself off. JBL is the prime example of why Vince McMahon needs to get the hell out of their ears. Mm-hmm. How many people were just, over the moon excited that JBL was coming back to do commentary?
Oh, a lot. I was one of them.
Yeah, so was I. And now people are like, all right, can he go now?
Yeah.
Because McMahon just has him this campy-ass, dumb jokes from the 70s that nobody gets. Because Vince was alive then. He thinks it's funny. Mm-hmm. And he's having JBL be king.
Well, that's one of my main concerns about Mauro Ranallo on SmackDown. Is Mauro Ranallo is such a great commentator for boxing and for whatever else he does and everything else he does. But I'm afraid when he gets put into that WWE atmosphere, and I don't think Vince is doing SmackDown, which is a pretty good thing. I think Hunter is actually responsible for commentary on SmackDown, which is a really, really good thing, especially when it comes to Mauro Ranallo. I think hopefully we can get some kind of good commentary, and that's one of the reasons why I'm going to be tuning in tomorrow night for SmackDown, is to see Mauro Ranallo and how he interacts with. I think the announce team is going to be him, Byron Saxton, and Jerry Lawler.
Yes, it is. That is the commentary team.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean Saxton's done on Raw? And if so, does that mean we get Corey Graves?
That's what it appeared. They kind of
did a little farewell kind of thing.
Yeah, it was kind of a farewell, which it's a shame, because I thought that Byron was doing a nice job on Raw.
He was a good balance.
He was a good balance, and he understood what he was doing and what he was there to do. And he actually on Raw and during the not the pay-per-views, but for Raw he was doing a lot of the things that Michael and JBL weren't doing, which was putting over talent and trying to put them over and explaining that they are the primary focus here and why you should care. And I found myself saying to while watching Raw, yeah, Byron, that makes a lot of sense. And And I actually applauded Byron. I mean, there were a few times where Byron was saying things just like Michael and just like JBL, but there were times where I was like, wow, Byron actually has something to say. So I'm happy he's going to be able to go to SmackDown and interact with Mauro Ranallo and have, instead of Vince, you'll have Hunter in his ear, which is always a good thing. And I don't know if Corey Graves is going to get a spot. I'm assuming with Byron going to SmackDown that now it'll be a 2-person booth with just Cole and JBL. We'll see how that goes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Lawler back because a lot of people bash Lawler, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter as long as you have Vince in everyone's ear. It doesn't matter who's talking because it's going to just be watered down and produced to be presented the way Vince and Kevin Dunn wants it to be. So honestly, I would prefer Corey Graves not be brought up to Raw or SmackDown. Well, SmackDown actually I'd be okay with because Hunter's in their ear instead of Vince. But for as far as Raw is concerned, it really doesn't matter who's brought up to the to the Raw announce team.
Can we both agree that and pray and hope to God that it's not Booker T?
Yes, I that's one of the things that I am very happy about is that Booker is no longer on commentary, that Byron's replaced him on SmackDown. He is god-awful, and he's probably, if I were to rank the worst announcers ever, he would definitely be on my list. Him along with, what's that guy's name? Mike Adamle.
Welcome to ECW. I'm Mike Adamle with the Taz.
Oh my God!
Actually, could that be where they go?
No,
Cole, JBL, and Taz on Raw.
No, I don't. I think Taz has his deal with CBS doing his radio show.
So does Flair.
Yeah, but Flair does a podcast. Taz has a daily show, I think.
Yeah, more publicity for WWE.
Yeah. Well,
wishful thinking.
Yeah. Jim Ross. You called Jim Ross.
Yeah, there's another one. Hey, Jim, you want your job back?
Yeah, right. Not as long as Vince is, as long as Vince is there, he'll never be brought back.
Actually, speaking of Vince, Marc just sent me a message on Facebook. Vince McMahon speaking. So, AJ, can you start yesterday?
Jay sent me something funny too. He goes, "This is Vince to Triple H. Damn it, call Japan. Get all those New Japan guys here now." And imagine Vince screaming that.
What the hell was his name? Who did we just let go to TNA?
Get that Naka Okada guy or whatever his name is.
What's one of those guys wrestling over there in that little island? What's that little island again? That's Japan, Vince.
Nakamura? He looks like Michael Jackson. Okay, bring him over. Vince is probably losing his mind, which...
Well,
this will force, like I said, them to
they come out of their comfort zone, too.
Yeah, it's going to... But it also might not. It also might just mean that they're going to bring Brock back more, bring back Taker, bring back guys that they can rely on.
Optimistic here.
And it's...
More Big Show and Mark Henry.
Oh, boy. Well, that's what we need. More Big Show.
What about the possibility if they bring the 4 of them in together as this generation's Radicals?
Yeah. Well, we have to also remember, keep in mind, AJ might be here before everyone else. Nakamura might be here way after everyone else.
That's right, he's still under contract, isn't he?
Nakamura still has a ways to go before we see him in WWE. If I had to predict when he'd be in WWE, I'd probably say around SummerSlam, maybe even after that.
Is that how long his contract runs?
No, his contract, I think, is technically up, and it's running down. But he's still the IWGP Intercontinental Champion.
Okay.
And in Japan, their big events don't happen as frequently as they do here.
Yep.
So it's going to be a while until they have him drop the title to someone who deserves it. They've been kind of positioning Hiroki Goto to take the title from him. He did last year, and then Nakamura won it back. Naito has been someone that they've been positioning to take a bigger role within the company. Unfortunately, he lost at Wrestle Kingdom 10, but he's somebody that they definitely want to push as a top guy there. Kenny Omega is someone that they can definitely elevate. If they want to do a Nakamura Omega program, have Omega take the title off of him, that's a possibility as well. So there's still ways to go. I mean, Nakamura is not going to be here anytime soon. People have to remember that he might be here, later this year. Same thing goes for Styles, Gallows, and Anderson. I mean, those guys I don't think will be here as quick as people think. They're still technically not signed to contracts. They're kind of more of a verbal agreement. So it's going to be, it's still going to be a little ways until they get over here.
That's the sense of reality to this. But on the same hand, for those of us who want to still be excited, I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura aside, Samoa Joe came in on a handshake, on a verbal agreement. So we're not saying it's not happening. Just not. Just don't get your hopes up right away.
Commitments over there. Yeah. A lot of them, 3/4 of them do. They did do a promo or an angle on New Year's Dash, the show after Wrestle Kingdom, where the Bullet Club turned on AJ and kicked him out of the Bullet Club. So that kind of confirms that he will be over here soon. And Kenny Omega is now the new leader of the Bullet Club. So,
do we see Samoa Joe on the main roster now that Cena's gone?
Now that Cena's gone, it's possible. I know before he was hurt, they were really not interested in bringing him up to the main roster. They made it clear. Joe has even kind of alluded to the fact that NXT is kind of where he's going to be, and he doesn't really have any aspirations to move up. He said in that Table for Three that he would be perfectly okay with being in NXT, and that would be it. So I don't know. I don't know if they want to bring him up. I don't know if Vince wants to bring Samoa Joe up, if Vince sees Samoa Joe as an asset to the main roster. I mean, if he doesn't see Samoa Joe as an asset to the main roster, he's blind. Because Samoa Joe is easily NXT's, he's my favorite thing about NXT. I mean, he's channeled that heel role so well. His lead up to NXT TakeOver London with Finn Balor was incredible, and some of the stuff he was doing on a week-to-week basis down there in NXT was great. So he could easily, be used on the main roster. I mean, listen, there's so many guys in NXT that could be used right now and come in right now, and not even NXT on the main roster right now. There are guys that could be used in a better role that they are in now than they're in now. I mean, Kevin Owens is a prime example of someone who could be thrown into that main event picture and flourish. Dean Ambrose, same thing. Dolph Ziggler, Neville, any one of these guys can be thrown in there. It's just WWE's willingness and commitment to doing that, and they don't have that. They don't for some innate reason, they don't want to do it. They think that, and we saw a perfect example of it today, right now, with John Cena getting hurt out of nowhere. They now have to understand that they have to put some investment and some time into other guys besides the names that they've relied on for so long. Now, you got to expect now, it's going to be the Roman Reigns show. A lot of people have to come to grips with that. It's going to be the Roman Reigns show. They're going to center the entire show around him, and that's fine, and that's rightfully so. I'm not opposed to that because Roman, I'm a fan of Roman. I think he's a really good worker, and a lot of people don't realize how good he is. So I'm fine with Roman being kind of the centerpiece of this show now, with Cena being out. And hopefully they can commit to other guys like Ambrose, like Owens, like Neville, like Ziggler, like everyone else, like Wyatt, and so on and so on.
Sorry, just got a... Yeah, and it just boils down to like we've been saying. It's going to be very interesting to see who gets pushed, who goes where, and just where the cards fall. I mean, to your point, it is going to be the Roman Reigns show, and a lot of the people out there just need to understand that. And I mean, He's been busting his ass the last couple months.
Yeah.
I mean, even longer than that, but I mean, really, since Rollins got hurt and they practically made this the Roman Reigns show, he's been busting his ass.
Absolutely.
And showing all the people, hey, it's because you guys don't like me. I kind of belong here.
Yeah. Absolutely, he does. And he does belong there.
And not for nothing, that title looked good on him.
Of course. I mean, the guy, he's everything you would want in a top guy. And he's got the look. He's pretty good in the ring. He's gotten better and better. His talking ability is not there yet, but with the right kind of writing, ironically, with the proper writing and being able to script his promos in a certain way, you can make him into a good talker. I mean, I've said before, you've got to make this guy into a short. You keep his show promos short and sweet. They need to be simple and effective. No cheesy catchphrases. No cheesy punchlines. I don't want to hear anything about tater tots or anything like that. I don't want to hear suckering suffrage and all that. I don't want to hear any of that kind of writing. It needs to be short and sweet. And the proper way to book him is what we've seen recently. He's an ass kicker. He's a mean ass kicker. He comes out there, punches everyone in the face, spears everyone, and leaves. That's exactly what he needs to be. He needs to be booked more like a Steve Austin and a Daniel Bryan and less like a John Cena. That's as simple. It's not hard to book this guy. It really isn't. And I think that's what you're going to see leading to WrestleMania. It's going to be a lot of Roman Reigns in multiple segments with either Vince McMahon or the Authority. And, we'll see if it works out or not.
And, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, they lost Steve Austin not too long before WrestleMania a few years back. So, I mean, granted, it was a couple months earlier than how we're losing Cena now. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, hey, we made it through WrestleMania 12.
Yeah.
We made it through WrestleMania 10.
The difference with Austin, though, is that when Austin went out, they had other established guys that they can throw into the roles that he was in. You had other guys that you could use in those roles. Where here, you don't really have that. I mean, you have Lesnar, you have Taker if they want to bring him back early. You have Reigns, who they've been building up. You have Hunter if he wants to get back in the ring earlier. It just on a week-to-week basis with Cena out, it's going to be a blow. It's going to hurt, and we'll just see how they can handle it. I mean, it's up to Vince to write a good show. It's simple as it gets. I mean, it's up to him to write a good show that people want to watch on a week-to-week basis leading into the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. I think they're going to be fine going to the Rumble. I think they're going to be perfectly fine because I think they're going to center it around Roman having to defend his title against guys like Lesnar and Taker if they bring him back for the Rumble, and Jericho and Wyatt and the Wyatt family, which they're kind of building around as a big storyline with the Wyatt family going to the Rumble as a dominant force, and if all of them can get in the ring together, that they're going to be this dominant force. I'm really interested to see how they book that because I like that idea. I think they did it with the Nexus with CM Punk, and then you had a big return with all of them in there. I think that's going to be fun. I think the Rumble's going to be a lot of fun. I think they're going to be fine booking Raw going to the Rumble. But after the Rumble is going to be interesting. I'm going to be interested to see how they book and how they write the show for going into WrestleMania.
And it's going to be interesting too what pieces are around Reigns and what pieces are around Ambrose and who their dance partners are going to be going into it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Is it going to be Lesnar? Is it going to be Taker? I mean, who knows? Maybe are we going to see Ambrose face Reigns?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not Mania, but maybe Fastlane. Maybe that's the Authority's way of getting to him after he survives the Rumble. Well, you know what? Obviously the Authority can't do it. So why not have your family be the one to take you out?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, he's stripped of his title.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you're stripped of your title.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, because they just did the whole title unification thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they may not, but I don't know. Just grasping different ideas.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Going to be interesting. Did you wanna touch on Wrestle Kingdom, or do you want to save that for next week? Because I just saw we're about 10 minutes over.
Well, I'll touch on it really quickly.
Go for it.
The show was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen. It really, from top to bottom, as far as a wrestling show is concerned, I don't think I've seen that great of a wrestling show since Wrestle Kingdom 9. So that's, it says a lot about how much I love New Japan and that style of wrestling. The Rumble was good. The pre-show Rumble, you saw a lot of great, old names like Sakuraba and Shibata and all these different names. You saw Haku make a return, which was really fun, which was really cool. He joined the Bullet Club. Really fun Rumble. You saw Cheeseburger from ROH in there. Nobody selling for him. That was a lot of fun. So the Rumble was a good time. The Fatal 4-Way for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships was a lot of fun. It would be what you expected it to be. It was a spot fest with Red Dragon, the Young Bucks, Seidel and Ricochet, and then you had Roppongi Vice with Beretta and Rocky Romero. That match was a lot of fun. Bunch of spots, bunch of craziness. But the Young Bucks ended up winning the tag titles back from Red Dragon, which was a really fun match. You had Elgin and Lethal for the ROH Championship. The match didn't get much time, which was kind of to be expected because it's not a New Japan match, so they wouldn't really give it much time. But it was still a solid match, solid showing from Elgin, and he got a lot of respect from the New Japan fans, which he's really gained over the last few months, being in Japan a little more than the other ROH talent. And Lethal looked good as always. Ishii and Shibata, if John, I know you didn't watch, but if you got to go back and watch one match from that show, I would probably tell you to either go watch Okada and Tanahashi, which I'll talk about, and this match with Shibata and Ishii for the Never Openweight Championship. Probably one of the most hard-hitting, violent, brutal matches I've ever seen. I mean, these guys were doing legit headbutts to each other, but not to each other's body parts. They were going head to head, literally, and you could hear the cracking of their skulls as they met. And they didn't do it one time. They didn't do it twice. They did it at least 3 to 4 times. And just some of the stuff they were doing in this match, they were doing straight leg kicks to the back. They were doing, chops and slaps. And this match, if you got to go back and watch one, this is the match to watch. Shibata ended up beating Ishii for the Never Openweight Championship. Really, really good match. Probably my favorite match of the night. You had AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Really, really good match. Marc talked about it earlier tonight. A really cool spot in the match was AJ kind of shooting a gun at not actually, but a fake, his little handgun at Nakamura, and Nakamura catching the air bullet and eating it. That was really fun. They had a bunch of great spots in this match. Did a really good job of selling this, but Nakamura ended up beating AJ Styles. And then, of course, you had the main event with Tanahashi and Okada. So much story going into this match. Tanahashi beating Okada last year at Wrestle Kingdom 9, and Okada crying on his way out to the ring, and Tanahashi really rubbing it in his face on the microphone. It kind of came full circle here where Okada beat Tanahashi. And if you're unfamiliar with these names, Tanahashi is kind of considered as the John Cena of New Japan, where he's been the top guy for so long. He's considered, quote-unquote, their ace, which is a term used to meaning that this is their top guy. This is the top guy in the company. Mm-hmm. And Okada beating Tanahashi clean really kind of tells you a lot about where they're going with Okada as the IWGP Heavyweight Champion and as their new ace, Okada the Rainmaker. Just a tremendous talent, and now Tanahashi having to take kind of a backseat to him going forward. A really good match. The match went on for like 45 minutes. So many great spots, so many great counters. The story was great. Some other quick notes about the show. Kevin Kelly and Matt Striker did a really, I thought, a really nice job. A lot of people kind of bashed these two guys for how they did on commentary, but I thought they did a really good job on commentary. And overall, a great show. Definitely a show to go out of your way to watch, and definitely a show to subscribe to New Japan World for. I subscribed. It's only $8 a month. Really, really worth it. So, I mean, New Japan is great. Wrestle Kingdom 10 was a fantastic show. So I definitely recommend everyone go watch that show.
Awesome stuff, Ben. You gave me a couple matches there. I definitely want to go check out.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we said at the top of the show, man, it's going to be a very interesting and exciting year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is this the end of John Cena? It very well could be, or at least the beginning of. You know, we didn't come on the air thinking that as much, but the last half hour or so has kind of changed that perspective. And, you know, all these names coming over from Japan. Excuse me. When do they debut? Who's next? A lot of answers, hopefully. Hopefully we see some of them by the time we come on next week.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to promote for PWP or for yourself or?
Well, pwpnation.com, of course. News, articles, all that stuff. Go head over there. As Marc referred to, we might get Marc to write something up for us maybe once a week. So that'll be great. You know, I'll be having some things going up soon. I'll probably talk about Wrestle Kingdom 10 and some of the matches you have to see. I'll probably rank all the matches from top to bottom as the best matches and the worst matches of the card. Really weren't any bad matches, by the way. And other than that, I guess you can follow me on Twitter at Eron_PWP. Follow PWP at PWP Nation. And, of course, we're going to have a lot about this John Cena thing in the next coming days. Probably a few articles on it and stuff like that. So please head over there and give us a look.
Awesome stuff, man. Look forward to seeing all that coming up. And, guys, hopefully we have something for you guys in the next coming days or weeks regarding PWP and Main Event Madness. I know we talked about it a bit before the holidays. But, like I said, hopefully in the next... do you have anything to update with that? Or
still some I guess, scheduling and technical stuff we're working through, and you know, me and John are always talking about that. So when we know something, you will all know something.
And be sure to follow me on Twitter at John MEM Radio and Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. That'll be your place to do it. And I do have it under some decent authority. MainEventMadness.com may be coming back. So be on the lookout for that in the next few months. Hopefully sooner than months, but talked with the old host of this little shindig, Mr. Merriman, and he's gonna see what he can do regarding getting the website back. And I'm excited to see if we can get the site back. Be nice to have a home again for this show. And if not, you know, was kind of digging the idea of making PWPNation.com home. Who knows? Who knows what time will bring?
Yeah.
But I'm rambling, which means it's usually time for me to shut up. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Aaron, it's fun as always, man. Look forward to hearing from you next week. I'm sure we'll talk in the next few days.
Definitely.
But look forward to doing it all over again next week, sir.
Yep, I will see everyone next week.
We have I'm drawing a blank. Who did Marc say? Because that was the first time I heard it. Sebastian. My mind has been thrown for a loop in the last hour.
No, I'm laughing because I don't remember either. So this is awkward.
Yes.
See, this is a moment we could have avoided, John.
Yeah.
When,
yes.
You know, if we recorded the show, but you know.
Touche, sir. Touche. Nonetheless, Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. We'll have it up there. Marc's going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
glad we got some on the job learning today.
Yeah.
We'll talk in the next couple of days.
All right.
But guys, thank you for tuning in. Lord willing, you guys will catch us back here next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern. We're going to do it all over again. Apologies for Evan Ginsberg. He had some prior commitments, wasn't able to make the show tonight, so look forward to hopefully getting him on with us next week. And that's all I got. Guys, have a great night, great rest of your week, and great weekend. And we'll catch you back here next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern, wrestling-news.net. Also, check us out, blogtalkradio.com/VOCNation. Encore presentation, Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And is our show going to be on PWP?
Your show will be on pwpnation.com. I posted after we get off the air.
All right, so guys, you want some great news, head over to pwpnation.com, and also check out our show if you guys didn't catch anything during the day. Spreaker.com/shows, /Main Event Madness. iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Player FM, all over the place. YouTube. Everybody's on YouTube these days. So, you guys want to head over onto your PS4, hit us up on iHeartRadio, or if you guys are on your Xbox One, TuneIn Radio. That's one thing I liked. I had an Xbox One in the fall. I was actually listening to legit radio and playing my game and stuff. So, you guys into that, head over there, check it out.
You can do that at the same time as playing a game?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, did not know that. Now I know that. Cool.
Do you have an Xbox?
I do have an Xbox One.
Yeah, they have TuneIn Radio. They got all the stations that are on there. Just snap it on the side, and actually it was pretty badass because Wayne was. I didn't know you had one. Wayne was the only one I knew at the time who had an Xbox, and I'm sitting there talking to him, playing a game, and listening to TuneIn Radio all at the same time.
Which do they have like podcasts or just like live radio?
Both.
Both. All right, cool. So you put the fan on, you know.
Exactly. WFAN, some Mike Francesa in the afternoon, or
Carl Booman and Carton in the morning. Yes.
Are you a Francesa fan?
I like Francesa. I think he's hilarious. I love seeing him just shit all over people. just kind of like people call and like give him an idea, and he's like, no, that just won't work. I just love that.
I think I miss the days of Mike and the Mad Dog.
I think that we will see a reunion one day. When Sirius and Chris Russo don't have a contract anymore, I think we'll see it one day.
I hope so. I used to love my days when I was an early teenager, especially the summer vacations, be sitting there 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, Mike and the Mad Dog every day, and then some Yankee games. Those were some good summer vacations.
I want to go to FrancescaCon one day.
What?
FrancescaCon?
What the hell is that?
It's a Comic-Con for Mike Francesa. I think I'm joking, but I'm not.
No, you know what? Now that you say that, I think I've heard that before. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, FrancescaCon.
By the way, speaking of Francesa, did you see the giant Francesa had on Raw last week?
I did. I marked out so hard when I saw that. I wish I knew someone else that like knew about Francesa, like was a fan of Francesa, because I would have loved to have just said that. But it's, oh my god, it was so. I started dying when I saw that. That was the best part of Raw. Yeah,
you know the funniest part about it is that Francesa's head's not much smaller than that.
No, that's the accurate size.
But guys. Like I said, next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern, head over to facebook.com/Main Event Madness. I'll get a post up hyping next week's show almost immediately after the show. I apologize about that. A lot to absorb in the last hour.
Yeah.
So, hour and a half almost now. So, guys, take care. We'll see you next week. I'm rambling. That usually means it's time to shut up. Eron, we'll talk.
All right.
Guys, have a good night. The preceding broadcast was an MEM Network exclusive. If you missed a part or all of tonight's show, no problem. Head over to memnetwork.wix.com/home, and there's a complete archive for all of our shows. Also, You can catch an encore presentation Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern on VOCNation.com. Main Event Madness Radio. Madness Unleashed. Have a good one, everybody. So long.